Have you ever stopped to think about the invisible things that power our digital lives? We mean these technologies that are just fundamental everywhere, really, but most people haven't even heard their names. How can something so hidden have such a huge impact? Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of those unsung heroes, the global PCIe market. Now, PCIe, that's Peripheral Component Interconnect Express. It sounds technical, I know, but it's basically the high-speed superhighway inside almost every digital device you touch. It's how your graphics card talks fast to your processor, how those super quick SSDs shift data, how giant data centers manage, well, unimaginable amounts of information. It's really a critical artery.
Yeah, absolutely. And the insights we're using for this deep dive, they come straight from some really comprehensive research by Cognitive Market Research. We're not just going to look at the surface numbers, we're going to trace the frankly surprising growth story of PCIe. We'll start back in 2021, look through the projections for 2025, and then all the way out to 2033. It's a journey that shows some pretty big shifts happening across, well, every major country and region worldwide.
And, understanding these kinds of underlying market dynamics, it's just essential if you really want to be well informed about the whole tech landscape. It helps you see the foundations being laid for all the flashy stuff we hear about, make sense of why certain sectors are just, boom, taken off.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. We're going to trace this surprising growth path of PCIe across the globe. Let's kick off with the big picture, the global numbers. When I first saw these figures, what really struck me wasn't just the starting size, but the acceleration. It's quite something. So the global PCIe market, it was valued at nearly, $17.9 billion in sales revenue back in 2021, which is already a pretty big number, right?
It is, yeah. Significant.
But here's where it gets really compelling. It's expected to jump to over $31.2 billion by 2025. And looking further out, the projection hits a staggering $95.3 billion by 2033.
Wow.
That implies an overall compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of almost 15%, 14.972% to be exact.
What's truly striking there is just how consistently strong that growth is projected to be.
Right.
Nearly 15% CAGR over a decade for a foundational tech like PCIe. That's not typical for something that feels, mature. It really points to a relentless, almost insatiable demand driven by so many different sectors. It's not just one thing. It's a really clear barometer for the pace of digital transformation itself, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit. North America, often seen as a leader in tech adoption, innovation. What does the data tell us there? North America recorded a very robust $4.4 billion in 2021. It's forecasted to reach $7.5 billion by 2025. And then it really climbs, hitting over $21.8 billion by 2033. It's maintaining a strong CAGR to over 14.2%.
Right.
And if we break that down a little, the United States alone, it made up a huge chunk of that. Nearly $3.5 billion in 2021, projected to grow to over $5.9 billion in 2025, and then almost $17 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR just over 14% for the U.S.
Though very strong.
Yeah. And Canada also shows impressive momentum, grew from about $576 million in 2021 to a projected over $3 billion by 2033. That's a healthy 14.8% CAGR. And Mexico is not far behind either, growing from $363 million to over $1.8 billion by 2033. Also around 14.4% growth rate.
So if we can take that to the bigger picture, North America continues to be just a really solid market. It's consistently driving innovation, maintaining that high demand for the high-speed interconnects you need for next-gen computing. And it's not just about replacing old gear, is it?
No, it doesn't seem like it.
It really points to a massive build-out of new infrastructure. Things like, advanced AI development, large-scale cloud services. They're incredibly dependent on PCI bandwidth.
Right, makes sense. Okay, moving across the Atlantic now, what story does Europe tell us? Europe saw, over $3.4 billion back in 2021. It's projected to increase to $5.8 billion in 2025, and then climb to over $17.1 billion by 2033. The overall CAGR there is about 14.4%. Still very strong growth, very consistent. Now, within Europe, lots of countries show strong double-digit growth, but Germany really stands out, doesn't it?
It does.
It reached $710 million in 2021, but it's projected to hit an impressive $3.8 billion by 2033. And it boasts Europe's highest CAGR in this data set, over 15.1%.
That's notable.
Yeah. It's closely followed by the UK and France, both seeing significant growth, too. Even places like Russia, while having a comparatively lower CAGR, around 12.6%, are still experiencing pretty substantial expansion, forecasted to hit nearly $700 million by 2033 from about $168 million in 21. This widespread consistency across the whole continent, it's quite telling.
It really is. That uniformity across Europe, it's just a broad push, perhaps even policy-driven in some cases, towards digital infrastructure upgrades, especially in areas like data center expansion and enterprise IT.
Right.
And Germany's figure, well, the robust industrial automation sector, plus increasing investment in AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
Those heavily rely on high-speed PCIe. That's likely a key driver pushing its growth just slightly ahead.
Good point. Now let's talk about what the research calls the real powerhouse of growth, the Asia-Pacific region. This is actually the fastest growing market globally for PCIe. What's driving that incredible momentum?
Yeah, the numbers here are pretty staggering.
So the Asia-Pacific market was valued at over $7.2 billion in 2021, already the biggest region. It's projected to grow to nearly $12.8 billion in 2025, and then an astounding $40.9 billion by 2033. That's at a leading CAGR of 15.6% for the region overall.
This phenomenal growth.
Within APAC, China certainly leads in sheer volume. It grew from $2.3 billion in 2021, projected to hit over $13.7 billion by 2033. That's a strong 15.8% CAGR.
Massive mark.
Huge. Japan is also on a massive upward path, heading towards $6.6 billion by 2033. But India really showcases impressive momentum, growing from just under $1 billion, $965 million in 2021, point to over $6 billion by 2033. And look at the CAGR, 16.568%.
Wow.
That's the highest overall growth rate we saw in this entire research data set.
That's really something.
Yeah. And other key players like South Korea, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, they all show really robust growth, too, between 14% and over 16% CAGR. Taiwan, for instance, expected near $2 billion by 2033.
This really does spotlight a significant shift, doesn't it, in global tech manufacturing and consumption. Asia-Pacific isn't just adopting technology anymore. It's seeing truly explosive acceleration, often driven by, yes, manufacturing expansion and a huge consumer base, but also, crucially, significant government investment in digital infrastructure that seems to be outpacing other regions.
That makes sense.
And India's exceptionally high CAGR, that likely points to their aggressive push into cloud infrastructure AI development, areas where PCIe is just absolutely critical.
Fascinating. Okay, let's quickly unpack the rest of the world. South America, the Middle East, and Africa, they're also showing very significant expansion, which is really interesting, right? It's not just the traditional tech hubs driving all this growth.
No, it's becoming much more widespread.
Yeah. Okay, so in South America, the PCIe market was over $1.1 billion in 2021, projected to hit over $6.1 billion by 2033. That's growing at a 15.2% CAGR. Brazil leads that region, targeting nearly $2.5 billion by 2033. But countries like Argentina and Chile are also seeing massive expansions. Argentina reaching over $1.3 billion, Chile over $450 million by 2033. Strong growth across the board there.
Very strong.
Then the Middle East. The market stood at just over $1 billion in 2021, growing to over $5.6 billion by 2033 at a CAGR of 15.1%. Again, consistent. Saudi Arabia is set to rise from about $288 million to over $1.5 billion. And the UAE is projected to reach nearly $786 million with an impressive 16% CAGR there as well.
Another high flyer.
Yeah. And finally, Africa reached about $661 million in 2021. Forecast to grow to over $3.5 billion by 2033. South Africa is estimated to hit over $1.7 billion of that. Nigeria also showing strong growth, targeting over $460 million.
You know, what's really fascinating here is that consistent double-digit growth across virtually all the global regions we've talked about. It paints such a clear picture of a universally expanding digital infrastructure. This isn't just localized growth in a few hotspots. It's a truly global phenomenon. It really indicates how crucial high-speed data transfer is becoming to, well, every economy.
Absolutely. So let's bring it all together. What does this all mean for you, the listener? We've seen the PCI market isn't just growing, it's exploding. From less than $18 billion in 2021 to a projected over $95 billion by 2033. Just think about that, a more than five-fold increase in just over a decade for a technology most people don't even know exists.
Right. And this sustained widespread growth, it just underscores the increasing, frankly, relentless demand for faster data transfer inside devices, between systems, everywhere, whether it's for these advanced AI applications we hear so much about or the ever-expanding cloud computing infrastructure, or cutting-edge gaming, or even just the everyday electronics we all rely on. PCIe is truly a foundational piece of the digital future that is rapidly unfolding right in front of us. The sheer scale of this growth just confirms its critical role in enabling, really, the next generation of computing.
Exactly. And for a final provocative thought for you to mull over, if these crucial underlying technologies like PCIe are growing at such an accelerated pace globally, what does that tell us about the scale of digital transformation that's still yet to come? And maybe what new unforeseen possibilities will inevitably emerge as this fundamental infrastructure just gets stronger and even more robust? Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're unpacking one of those technologies that kind of works behind the scenes, quietly shaping our digital world. We're zeroing in on something crucial, something that's evolving really fast.
Yeah.
It's the unsung hero, you could say, powering everything from like high-end gaming rigs to the next wave of AI. We're taking a deep dive into the global PCI market. That's PCIe, Peripheral Component Interconnect Express. And our mission today is to pull out the key insights. What's driving it, what's holding it back, the big trends. And we're doing this using expert sources, specifically drawing on research from cognitive market research. So yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. Well, fundamentally, PCIe really is the backbone for these high-performance data environments. You can sort of picture it as the main superhighway for data inside a system, making sure components can talk to each other fast. It's absolutely essential for, modern data centers, for those really powerful AI systems that need incredible speed, for gaming platforms, and even increasingly for advanced automotive tech.
Okay, that sets the stage really well. So if it's so foundational, what's really pushing this market forward right now? Is it mostly about data centers needing more and more speed?
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the biggest driver. The demand for really rapid data transfer, especially within data centers and cloud infrastructure. I mean, as these places expand everywhere and cloud providers are always chasing lower latency, PCIe Gen 4 and especially Gen 5 have become vital. They allow that super fast communication between, CPUs, GPUs, and that advanced NVMe storage, which really needs PCI's direct connection. And this is critical for real-time AI, complex analytics, machine learning, all those things that just devour data instantly.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And with AI and machine learning really pushing limits, does PCIe's role, does it extend beyond just the big data centers, like out to the edge?
Oh, definitely. Yes. When you look at the broader picture, you see this need for speed is tied directly to the huge growth in AI, machine learning, and edge computing, too. These applications, they just fundamentally need high bandwidth, low latency, data moving quickly between different processing units, and PCIe is that crucial interconnect. Think about edge devices, right? Supporting smart algorithms right where data is created. That's where you see things like specialized PCIe switches, adapters, even retimers becoming really important. They deliver speed in often quite small
And
devices.
consumer electronics too, right?
Yeah.
They always seem to be chasing speed. How big a factor is that for PCIe?
It's a huge piece of the puzzle, yeah. The push for Ultra HD gaming, for that incredibly realistic, real-time rendering, immersive VR, it's really accelerated PCIe adoption. You'll find the latest PCIe Gen 4, Gen 5 SSDs and GPUs and everything from top-tier gaming laptops to consoles, multimedia platforms. They deliver that instant speed and responsiveness gamers and creators demand now. It's kind of a cornerstone for high-performance consumer gear.
Okay, so it sounds like this unstoppable force, doesn't it? But technology always has its hurdles. Every superhighway hits construction. Pursuing this kind of speed, it rarely comes without costs, right?
Yeah.
Financial, engineering. So what are the main challenges? What are the roadblocks for PCIe right now?
You're absolutely right. Pushing boundaries always creates challenges. One really significant one is just the cost of implementation. Moving from older standards up to the latest Gen 5 or Gen 6, it takes a pretty substantial investment, not just the chips, but new motherboards, firmware updates, and all the complex and often expensive testing gear. This can be tough, especially for smaller or medium-sized businesses. And, backward compatibility with really old stuff isn't always perfect either.
Yeah, the cost factor. What else?
Well, closely related is thermal management, heat, and power consumption. As PCIe gets faster, offering more bandwidth, it unfortunately also generates more heat. Managing that heat is incredibly difficult sometimes, especially in compact systems like laptops or in really densely packed data centers that maybe don't have the absolute latest cooling. That can actually limit adoption in places where getting rid of heat is a major design headache.
Okay, cost and heat. Any other big ones?
Yes, and this is a big one for the engineers. The sheer complexity of designing things at these speeds. I mean, Gen 5 runs at 32 gigatransfers per second. Gen 6 is aiming for 64 GTs. At those speeds, keeping the signal clean, ensuring signal integrity is a massive challenge. You start dealing with really subtle issues like jitter, tiny timing errors, signal interference, even the physical materials of the circuit board become critical. These aren't minor details. They fundamentally determine if data can flow reliably. It adds a lot of complexity, time, and cost to development.
Wow, yeah. Those sound like some really tough engineering and economic hurdles. But despite all that, the market still seems set for strong growth. So let's pivot a bit. What are the promising trends? What's making people optimistic about PCI's future?
Right. Well, the first big trend is simply the continued transition to PCIe Gen 5. And now, looking ahead, Gen 6. Gen 5 is already making serious waves in the data centers, with that 32 GT speed. And Gen 6, which is under development, aims to double that again. It plans to use a technique called PAM4 signaling. Think of PM4 as packing twice the data into each signal pulse. It's a clever way to boost efficiency without doubling wires. Quite an engineering feat. And these faster speeds are just crucial for next-gen AI, for future 6G communications, ultra-fast storage.
That PAM4 sounds like a neat trick, getting more out of the existing lanes, essentially.
Exactly. More performance, more efficiency. And another really interesting trend is how PCIe is integrating more into what we call heterogeneous computing. Systems that mix different kinds of processors, CPUs, GPUs, FPGAs, other specialized accelerators. PCIe is increasingly acting as, well, the glue that connects all these diverse parts smoothly. Manufacturers are even developing PCIe-based connections for chip-to-chip communication chiplets. This really opens the door for more modular, scalable computer designs. You can tailor systems much more precisely.
So it's becoming the kind of universal translator for high-speed parts inside a computer. That sounds really powerful.
It is. It enables a lot of flexibility.
Okay, so where else? Are we seeing PCIe move beyond its usual spots in data centers and high-end PCs?
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing significant expansion into automotive applications and the industrial Internet of Things, or IoT. In self-driving cars, or even just cars with advanced driver assistance systems, ATS PCIe is connecting sensors, the control units, ECUs, the powerful onboard computers processing all that real-time data. And similarly, in industrial automation, robotics. PCIe switches are becoming key for managing high-speed data from multiple machines and sensors on a factory floor. So it's moving into manufacturing, transportation.
Okay, so pulling this all together then, this deep dive shows the PCIe market is, well, it's moving fast. It's fueled by this massive hunger for data from AI, these advanced computing trends, and it's spreading into new areas way beyond just our desktops.
That's a good summary, yeah. And while those challenges, cost, heat, design, complexity, they're very real, the constant innovation, the technological evolution, it just keeps clearing the path. It allows for robust growth to continue, making sure our need for speed can, for the most part, be met.
It really is amazing how something so, behind the scenes like a data connection standard can impact the absolute cutting edge of tech. So maybe a final thought for you listening. How might this relentless chase for speed and things like PCIe actually reshape the everyday experiences we kind of take for granted? From how fast your game loads to maybe how smoothly and safely a self-driving car responds in the future. Something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, all the insights we discussed today were sourced directly from the experts at Cognitive Market Research. We'll catch you on the next one.